Hello everyone, it's Dr. Wolf here, and in this video, I am going to be going over the cancer simulation, which is going to answer the question, how do genes and environment interact to cause cancer? So in this simulation, you have two pieces right here, all right, and they're going to move towards each other. Once they meet or cross each other, you've developed cancer, all right? And there's two parts to the game. The first part is setting your genetics piece right here, and it says, are you male, all right? If so, roll the dice 3 times, and you're trying to see if you could get a 6 3 times in a row. So I got 1 6, all right, got another 6, all right, but I got a 2 that time. And so it says don't roll at all. By the way, if I had that third 6, I'd have to move my genetics piece up 12 spaces. So that's real, like the odds of that are really, really unlikely if I'm a male. Now I'm gonna play the rest of the simulation as if I were a female. So are you female? Automatically move your genetics piece up 10 spaces. Then it says roll the die, all right? If you rolled a 1 or 2, you've inherited a normal BRCA gene. Do not move your genetics piece, all right? So I'm not gonna move it. But let's just say for the purposes of the simulation, I rolled a 4. It says, hey, you've inherited a mutated gene. Move your genetics piece up 7 spaces. Okay, so now my genetics piece is set. That's the DNA that I've inherited when I was born. Now I'm gonna move to the environmental side. I have these cards right here. We're gonna start at decade 1, so I'm about 10 years old, and I'm gonna look at the first card. You've been exposed to radiation, roll once. So I'm gonna roll the die, and you guys can't see it, but that is a 2. So I'm gonna move up 2 spaces. All right, then I'm now 20 years old. All right, it says natural mutations occur in your body, roll once towards cancer. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Whew. All right, decade 3, 30 years old now. All right, you live in a modern society and are exposed to many chemicals. All right, roll once. All right, so 2. Ooh. So unfortunately, at 30 years old in this simulation, I've developed cancer. All right. Now, we can see some of the cards that caused me to roll towards them, the environmental cards, being exposed to radiation. One was more of just natural mutations, no control over it, being in a modern society. Here's some of the other cards. You consume alcohol in moderation. That would actually cause me not to roll. So that would be a good thing. All right, you drink more than 1 glass of alcohol a day. That would cause me to roll. That would be an environmental factor that could contribute to breast cancer. You're overweight later in life. That could contribute to breast cancer. You manage your weight well. That could help. So that would cause me not to roll. Natural mutations occurred in your body, but unfortunately they were in non-coding regions, so that's good. You exercise regularly. That wouldn't cause me to roll. But if I'm not physically active, I would have to roll, all right, towards cancer in that direction. All right. So what we could see here is that genetics did not cause me to develop cancer, but especially being a woman who had that faulty gene, man, did it make it a lot more likely that I would develop cancer. Imagine at the beginning, I was a male and I was still over here. I could have a lot more of these environmental cards and it would take me a lot longer to develop cancer right here. So, all right, it looks like genes influence cancer, but they don't cause it. They just make it more likely that you could develop it. And then your environment, all right, over time is going to cause you to develop more mutations over time, but you could also have certain factors that would cause you not to develop those mutations as quick. All right, unfortunately, all right, natural mutations occur in our body. All right, so even if you were always exercising super well, eating healthy, you're going to have some of those mutations. All right, now how those mutations affect you is kind of like a roll of the die. All right, where maybe you roll and you get a 1, whew, and you get lucky. Maybe you roll and you get a 6, and all of a sudden, whew, that's not as lucky, right? So where mutations occur, those are random, right? So there's a genetic influence, there's an environment influence, right? And there's a lot of randomness too. Now, this was just an example of breast cancer. If we were to do lung cancer, all right, the genetics are not nearly as impactful, all right? It affects men and women equally. And the genetics piece, if you inherited a faulty gene, you'd only have to move up about that much. So that's way different compared to breast cancer, where we had to move up all the way over here, right? So it depends on the cancer too, in terms of how genes and environment play a role. So here's the summary of this cancer simulation. Genetics can predispose, make it more likely of you developing cancer. Environment could speed up the rate at which you require those mutations. So exposing yourself to certain things can make it more likely that you develop cancer, could cause cancer in that way. And then genetics and environment have different weights depending on the type of cancer, right? It seems like genetics plays a little bit more of a role in breast cancer compared to lung cancer. And then at the end of the day, there's also just this randomness luck to it, where mutations occur are like a dice roll. They're random, right? So maybe you get lucky and you have to roll a bunch because you have these environmental factors and you just go up a little bit each time. Or maybe you only have a couple of environmental factors, but you just happen to go up a lot each time. All right, so that's just a summary of how genetics and environment influence cancer. Thanks for watching.